Namaskar. I'm Dr. Shubhra Sinha, Associate Professor in the Department of Psychology, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya. It's a college admitted to the privileges of Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, India. I welcome all of you joined here with this course. As we all know, this is a 4-credit course which will run for 12 weeks consistently. And this is going to give you a comprehensive coverage of the concept of stress, right from its definition to the historical development of research in this field of stress, and also different perspectives, the areas which cause frequent stress in our life, commonly known as stressors, the symptoms that we experience when we feel stressed, and the remedies for successful stress management. Hope this course will be interesting for you and also very useful in managing your daily stress. With this brief introduction, let us begin with the module 1 of this course, which focuses on what is stress. Friends, our daily conversations are preoccupied with how stressed we are these days. And if a concept covers so much of our daily routine and our daily time, we must try to understand the concept deeply and accurately so that we can deal with it more effectively. The present course is designed to help you doing that. And today we are going to get a brief introduction of stress in our first lecture. So here is what you will study during lecture 1. First, we will do the introduction to the concept of stress. Then we will see how the concept has been developed historically, how it is being progressed from physical sciences to medical sciences to behavioral sciences, and also different perspectives adopted by researchers while studying this concept. Finally, we will arrive at a definition of stress and also discuss the main features of stress. Let us begin the journey and hope it is going to be very interesting. The word stress is derived from a Latin word, stringer, which means to draw tight. Most of us, when we feel ourselves very stressed, we find that there is a burden of responsibilities around us. We can feel the tightness of our muscles, especially the neck muscles, the back muscles, or we can experience a number of unpleasant circumstances going around us, or we may find us in an emotionally charged situations. These are some common illustrations where we say that we are stressed, but there can be many more. It depends upon the subjective experience of people. Now let us trace the development of this particular concept historically. See, stress is a part and parcel of our life. Since the time human beings started developing on this earth, they would feel stress of one or the other kind. But if I try to trace this concept in research writings, I would say that in 14th century, the terms which were used to describe such circumstances were hardship, adversity, affliction, and many more. During 17th century, Hooke used the term stress in physical sciences. It was taken up by other researchers also, and in 19th century, the stress was defined as a ratio of internal and external forces applied to a surface. Again, a definition applicable to physical sciences more than biological or behavioral sciences. But soon conditions started changing. In 1932, Walter Cannon defined stress as a disturbance of bodily homeostasis. See, now the emphasis is being shifted from physical science to biological science, and people started defining or perceiving stress as a bodily process. Moving on, in 1936, Hans Selye for the first time explained stress as a set of bodily reactions towards any noxious stimulus, any stimulus which is very unpleasant to us. He progressed with the same idea and taken it to the APA in 1955, and when he presented his paper, this was the base of extending the concept of stress from biological sciences to behavioral sciences. The concept was quickly picked up by other researchers also. For example, Lazarus and Folkman, who defined stress as a relationship between the person and the environment which is perceived as taxing. So, if you look at the progression of the concept, it started being used in physical sciences. Initially, it was considered a type of tension which develops on a surface when the surface was exposed to an internal force and an external force varying in strength. Gradually, it moved to medical or biological sciences, and it was considered a bodily response to something. And then finally, it entered the realm of behavioral sciences, psychology, sociology, anthropology, and similar disciplines, where we started looking at stress as perceived phenomena and also a subjective phenomena. Another inference that we can draw from here is the development of different perspectives of stress. See, as we have discussed just now, the term was used in physical sciences also, in biological sciences also, and in behavioral sciences also. So, in physical sciences, when we conceived stress as a force which is applied to a surface, means we try to understand stress in terms of an external factor, an external force which is working on a particular surface. When we take this particular framework as our perspective, we normally try to study stress in terms of stressors, that is, the environmental factors which may cause stress to us. Moving on to the biological perspectives, where the stress was defined as a set of bodily reactions. We try to study stress as a response of the organ systems of our body, the sympathetic system, the HPA axis, and many more. We will elaborate upon these mechanisms in our later lectures. Finally, if you look at the Lazarus definition, or how he tries to define stress as a kind of relationship between the person and the environment which is perceived as taxing. This is something interesting. This is not objectively taxing but perceived as taxing. So, this particular paradigm, or an effort to restore homeostasis, if we try to say this gives rise to a different perspectives called transactional approach or transactional perspectives. Finally, if I try to define stress, I would be drawing from all the three approaches, just to give you an idea how we can talk about a particular concept if we adopt different perspectives of talking about it. Let's see the first definition. So it says stress is a stimulus that disrupts an individual's homeostasis or balance. An individual's reaction to stress is influenced by external pressure. The definition was proposed by Burgess in 1997. And look at the two things Burgess want to say. He says that stress is influenced by external pressure, means there is an environment which surrounds all of us. It is full of different kind of stimuli which are impinging on us. Some of them are physical, some of them are social, some of them are psychological. So many influences continuously coming to us from the external environment. And when some of them, one of them, or unfortunately all of them start disturbing the balance of our body, the balance which we have made with our environment, the adjustment which we have made with our environment, all social, physical, psychological, it may cause stress. Another definition was proposed by Schaffer in 2000, and he says stress is an arousal of mind and body in response to demands made on them. See, the idea is similar, but not the same. Schaffer says that stress is an arousal of mind and body. Now, what is arousal? It is the way how our mind and body reacts when they are being demanded of so many things by the environment. Demands made on them again refers to external stimuli to which we are interacting with. So, whenever these demands become insurmountable, they become great in amount, our body, our mind start feeling charged or aroused. This feeling of arousal or charge or excitement is perceived as stressed by people. This is how Schaffer want to define stress. Now coming to Salier's definition, which he proposed in the year 1974, stress is the non-specific response of the body to any demand made upon it. Now here is something interesting. See, demand made upon it refers to the same thing, that is the external environment or the stimuli which are impinging upon us or the responsibilities that we have to discharge, whatever the way you want to define it. But the Salier emphasizes on the point that stress is a non-specific response of the body. Now, if something is non-specific means no matter what kind of stimulus is coming to us, the body will react the same way. Non-specific. The bodily reaction is not specific. It is not targeted towards a particular stimulus, or our body doesn't discriminate among the stressors. No matter what kind of a stressor comes, the body or the organ system will react in the same manner. That is why it is called a non-specific response of the body. Moving on, Lazarus and Folkman in 1984, they also came up with their own definition of stress. How they defined it? A particular relationship between the person and the environment that is appraised as taxing or exceeding his or her resources and endangering his or her well-being. This definition appears long, but this is the most encompassing one, and it includes so many important points to understand about stress. See, the first thing that Lazarus and Folkman emphasized upon is that there is a person living in a particular environment. We all know that as an individual, as an organism, we are surrounded by so many things, physical, social, and this makes up our environment. Whenever we be in a particular kind of environment, we try to adapt to it. Adapt to it means we try to make a balance with this environment so that we can live in it peacefully, happily, and protect our survival. For example, we all know that when winter comes, we all switch to woolen clothes. When summer comes, we all switch to cotton clothes. Why we do it? Because we want to make a balance with our environment which is changing. The temperature is changing. We want to secure our survival. We do not want to fall ill. That is why we change our clothings, we change our beverages, we change our style of living in order to establish a fresh homeostasis with the environment. So there is a particular relationship between the person and the environment. Now, till this relationship is balanced, there is no problem. But what if this relationship starts getting strained? Means the environment starts demanding more and more from us. We have certain resources with us. We will try to spend those resources to bring the homeostasis back. Suppose the temperature increases further, we will switch on the ACs in our houses. But what if the temperature is so high that sometimes AC even doesn't look working nicely? That will be the point where we will be feeling stressed. Means whenever this environmental demand start exceeding the resources that we have to restore the balance, this will cause stress for the person. Much depends upon the perception or appraisal of the individual also. Many times we underscore our own resources and overemphasize the environmental stresses, giving us a perception that we will be failing to cope with the stressor coming to us, which may not be true. Similarly, many times we misperceive our resources. We think we have enough to cope with it, but actually, the intensity of the stressor is much more than what we have. So, our subjective perception may alter the feeling of stress that we undergo. Now, see what Oxford American Dictionary talk about it. It says, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. Demanding circumstances are the common thing. They try to elaborate upon what kind of stress we can feel. We can feel emotional strain, we can feel mental strain, means cognitive strain, we can sometimes feel overburdened, and we can feel tense. These all are resulting from the demanding circumstances we face. Now, the term demanding circumstances, the demands that are made on us, all these terms are usually defined as stressor. When we talk about this perspective technically, we will call them stressor. So, the stressor is a physical or psychological stimulus that elicits a stress reaction within an individual. So, it is an stimulus capable of eliciting a particular kind of response from the organism, from the human being, from the person. And this particular reaction will be known as a stress, whereas the stimulus causing it will be the stressor. I hope the things will be clear to you. If not, you can post your queries on the discussion forum and I will definitely answer your queries. So, Considering all these definitions together, what are the main features of stress that we can understand? First thing is, stress is a feeling that arises when environmental demands exceeds the existing resources of individuals to cope. So, at one hand, there is environmental demands, and on the other hand, we have the resources to cope with it. And when the demand section increases, and it increases disproportionately as compared to what we have to make adjustment, we feel stressed. Second important thing is, when we realize that failing to restore the balance or failing to cope with the demands will cause us a big harm. If the harm is not very big for us, if we are ready to accept or manage that harm, we won't feel stressed. Okay, not this time, better luck next time, doesn't matter, no issues. If we are capable of using these terms, means we are not going to feel stressed for that, although the demand was much higher than the resources that we have to respond with. But if we cannot use these terms because the situation is so important to us to manage, if we fail to manage, it will cause us harm and some kind of unbearable loss. Then we will feel stressed. Another point that we must understand here is that stress is universal. It is omnipresent. It was present in the past, it is present in the present time, and it will be present in future as well. The form can be changed, the factors can be changed, the perception can be changed, but we cannot completely rule out stress. It is not practically possible. So it is better to learn how to manage stress so that we can keep working, we can be happy at the same time. Then, if we feel stress, it is going to affect almost all organ systems of the body. And the non-specific response will be the generalized arousal. When we feel this aroused state of mind and body, we term it as stress. The stress can be manifested differently for each individual. For example, if I undergo stress, I may feel irritated, I may feel lost, I may lose interest in social gatherings or things like that. If someone else feels stressed, the stress can manifest itself predominantly in physical symptoms like psychosomatic illnesses, diabetes, asthma, hypertension, ulcers, and things like that. For me, there can be a short range to tolerate stress, means I can get stressed easily, quickly as compared to other people. For others, there may be a long range to which they can tolerate stress or cope with it. That is why it is said that stress can be manifested differently for each individual. And stress is going to influence all the domains of an individual's life: mental, emotional, behavioral, and physical state. So, these were the main features of stress. Now, let us see what we have learned in this particular module. Up to this point, we have talked about the common experiences linked with stress. Then we saw how this particular concept has emerged in scientific disciplines and its progression from physical sciences to medical or biological sciences and from biological to behavioral sciences. This progression leads to different conceptualizations of stress also. And we have talked about so many definitions of stress and saw what is common in all of them and how they differ from each other while defining stress. Now, this is a time to do something. See, friends, this is a course on stress management. Of course, completion of this course successfully will give you 4 credits. But the benefit of this course is not restricted to this only. Rather, the course should help you in dealing with the stress in your real life. So, after every lecture, you will find an activity which will help you understand better about the stress which is occurring in your life, how it is occurring, and how we can deal with it. So, activity 1, which we are going to do right now, is maintaining a daily stress diary. Now, what you have to do? Sit and relax and think of the last month of your life. Think carefully and make a list of incidents that have made you feel stressed. You can write a detailed description of the same. If you wish, you can share it on discussion forum so that we can have some useful discussion about it. Or if you do not want this, you can keep it personal. No issue. But please try to describe the event as vividly as possible. After doing that, take a highlighter and try to identify the causes of your stress. Means there was a situation and you felt bad about it. What made you feel bad? Whether the people around you, their actions, their words, some physical event, or an opportunity which was lost by you, or anything else. Whatever. But be honest in identifying the causes. Also identify the symptoms that you experienced when you feel stressed. Whether it was dry mouth, or neck pain, or tightening of the muscles, or increased rate of respiration, increased heartbeat, itching somewhere in your skin, rashes, irritation, frustration, frequent conflict with others, anything, just anything that you have found yourself trapped with. And also, try to think about your actions that you took in order to deal with that stressful situation. I hope this exercise will help you developing a deep understanding of your own stress and its experience. So complete this activity by the time we meet again with another topic. These are the recommended readings. You can get these books easily in any bookstall and they may be available in your libraries also. So please read, enjoy, and connect the course with your real life. Thank you so much for your kind attention.